You'll be speaking to today. I'm Andy Smith. I'm the partner manager here at iCoTech Services. Only been here 10 or 11 days, so I'm really excited to be here and see this level of interest in what we're doing is fantastic. Be joined by Joel Markham, who's our CEO and founder of the business, and Richard Llewellyn, who's head of our practice management. And in the background supporting us are Joe and Sarah from our marketing team. So really to talk about the agenda, I'll go through very quickly who we are, just a statement about what we're about as an organisation and what we're passionate about, what gets us out of bed, rather than multiple slides about iCoTech. And then very new to the business, we've got Joel Markham, who's our co-founder, with us today, and Richard Llewellyn, who's our practice manager, and Joel's also CEO. So, the pressure is real. We know that across the public sector and services in how you do more with less around projects. Digital transformation has increased the velocity of business at an extreme rate. I've been in the industry since 87. I've never seen the pace of business that we actually get today. Copilot and AI is only going to enhance that speed, and how you use the technology is absolutely crucial. We asked most people if you could put your microphones on mute, please. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, but we will have a question and answer session at the end. So if you do want to ask a question, please feel free to come off mute, excuse me, and we'll answer those questions as we go at the end. So if you could skip through to the next one, please, Joel. So seeing I've been on mute, I better speed up. So we were formed 6 years ago and basically formed out of this digital transformation where Joel was working for some large manufacturing and financial houses and realized there was probably a more effective way that you could run your portfolios and your projects if you had the right tools to the job, if you had the right processes. And we all know that this AI transformation is driven by data. So we are very passionate about data, and we're passionate about data in the context of improving how you run and manage and monitor and measure your projects and your portfolios, and particularly focused on the public sector, which is a core sector for us. So we built our solutions on the Microsoft Power Platform because we know it's tried and tested. Many of you guys out there in the customer base will be using that. And it allowed us to build accelerators so we could do things like increase efficiency, accuracy of driving projects forward, measuring those projects. So you've got less time searching for information, automating tasks, and more time really to release on strategic activities. The most important thing in a business is connecting your two most important bits of IP, your people to your data. So, our ethos is allowing you to do that in the context of PPM. And we take a very consultative approach. We realize that when you develop new solutions, new applications, there's a change management element. And it's about people, process, technology, but also about culture, adopting to new solutions. So we have a methodology where we onboard people very quickly with an onboarding way, which gives you a minimum viable product that allows you to get used to the technology, get working with the technology, get a feel for it. And then all our customers then start to talk about iterations and developing more and going beyond that minimum viable product. And that's when our optimization waves come in, and that's the consultative approach that we're talking about. So Joel, if you could skip to the next one, please.
Yep, no problem.
And just to give you an example, this isn't a sector we play in, or we've got what is absolutely core in our DNA to what we do. We work across central government, across local authorities, across blue light. We're having more conversations with police forces. So we do understand the challenges that a lot of you face. We understand how to navigate some of the procurement, rules and processes. And, we're really, really excited to talk to you all today with such a number of people on. And as I say, please feel free to fire questions at us through the chat. There will be a session at the end. There will be some QR codes that we'd encourage you to sign up to, because it gives you more information on our products, but also more importantly about an event we're running on the 18th of September at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff, where we'll be going through this in a lot more detail. So if it sparks your interest, please feel free to register and come along. And without further ado, I will hand over to Joel and Richard, who will take you through the bulk of the presentation today.
Great stuff. Thanks, Andy, much appreciated. Yeah, welcome everybody this morning to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining. Obviously, it's important and it's impacting you guys because there's a lot of people joining this session today. So yeah, really pleased, really encouraged to see you all jumping on. Hopefully you find the event, the webinar useful. But yeah, my name is Joel Markham. I'm the CEO and founder of iCoTech Services. So just a bit of a 30-second summary. My whole career has been in project portfolio management. It's kind of all I've ever done, really. So started off with Welsh Water as project support officer, went to Lloyds Bank to be part of the TSB sale project, then went into Babcock International Group, which was, whilst it's obviously a private sector organisation, we were servicing the public sector in delivering portfolios of change, both business and kind of technology change. And then I went to Companies House, so it was my first kind of real foray into the real public sector, and that was a great experience. I loved my time there, heading up the P3 function, and as Andy's referred to earlier, that's where we referenced them. Identified that actually delivering change is hard, delivering change for technology and good processes, good systems would be even better. So hence the reason for iCoTech Services was born. So nice to meet you. I'm going to make it a personal note to change that picture because I hate it. So Joanne, if you're listening, please can we find a new picture for me? So yeah, but very nice to meet you all today. Thank you for your time. And as Andy said, please put any questions you have in the meeting chat. If it's not appropriate to answer the question at that point in time, then we'll bank them and put them to later on in the session. If we don't know the answer to the question, we'll just ask. We'll just say we don't know the answer to that, and we'll take it away and go and confirm that with our technical resources in iCoTech Services and our dear friends in Microsoft, and we'll go from there. All right. So let's jump into the first agenda item. So the pressure's real. The current challenges in public services. So if we just tell a story effectively around a couple of our customers and where a couple of our customers are seeing challenges. So a consistent theme is we're getting a lot of our customers seeing challenges in delivering complex change portfolios. So whether they're just initiating a transformation program, whether they're halfway through it, whether they're coming towards the end of it, actually having a complex portfolio of change is consistent across our customer base. Whether it be in local government, in central government, or in healthcare, they're all facing similar challenges in these areas. All right. Limited resources to deliver is a key factor that we see. Trying to do more with less are the kind of types of challenges and language that's being articulated to us from across our customer base. And then, the increased pressure to deliver more with less. So, I was speaking to a customer the other day in a local government, and that customer was initiating a 3-year transformation program, and they were looking to introduce significant multi-year savings as a result of their capital and investment. All right. So in order to do that, all those customers are trying to gain clarity across their project portfolio, and they're all trying to utilize AI and Copilot, right? That is something that all these sectors are trying to invest in, trying to utilize, as they know it's there, it's available to them. It's just about applying it in the right way and making most use of it. But when I talk about AI, I kind of try and break it down into digitization, automation, and AI, because as I'll try to explain in today's session, you can't just use AI on its own. You can't just go to that as a quick fix. It isn't the magic wand. There is a journey to go through, and there's some fundamental principles to have in place before you start operating and utilizing Copilot and AI. So what I've done is I bundled these kind of 3 cases together just because I wanted to make the most use of the time. And I think all these organizations had similar challenges, etc. So I want to talk about Digital Healthcare Wales, Digital Health and Care Wales, DHW, and IPO, Intellectual Property Office, and Oxfordshire County Council. So they all started their journey many years ago looking to have visibility and have an overview of the project portfolio, and effectively use or get rid of their legacy systems because they were using Project Online, Microsoft Project, and they were struggling to achieve that visibility that we were talking about earlier on. They all had low user engagement, poor visibility of that portfolio, and then a difficulty aligning their governance to their actual project framework. So by implementing iCoPlan, our accelerator, and leveraging automation, they were able to transform how they worked. All right. So if we just break that down a second, the challenges that they all faced when they approached iCoTech services was they all had disparate systems. So whether it was Project Online that wasn't being used, whether it was multiple spreadsheets, and I remember the IPO spreadsheet for resourcing was intense. It was thousands of lines long, and bless Sam, the lady who used to run it, one little click off and it would just throw out all the pivot charts, and it was just a minefield, and the executive team didn't know what resources were needed across the portfolio to deliver their transformation program, which was just fundamental to them. Again, they all had low user engagement for various sub-reasons, and they all had difficulty aligning their governance, their stage gates, with what they had in place as their process. All right. So there were the challenges they all faced, and the solution was the same technical solution. Obviously, it was nuanced to each of them, but iCoPlan was the baseline that we kind of talked to them about. Getting rid of their spreadsheets, getting rid of their archaic systems, moving on to a Power Platform solution that allowed us then to build those Power BI reports on top of it to give them that visualization, and that allowed us then to migrate that data across from their Excel spreadsheets or their existing aging systems, all into a central system, a central database effectively, and then that allowed them then to start using automation in the future to digitize the way in which they worked. All right, but the outcomes for all those three organizations was much better visibility, massive efficiencies, touch of a button, being able to see the resource report now across the intellectual property office, whereas that was an archaic spreadsheet that, you press one wrong button in a cell and peak tong, the thing fell over. So having that increased visibility obviously gives them ability to make better decisions, better insights into what they wanted to do, etc. So interesting to see if any of those situations resonate with yourselves on the call today. A key point is that we're hosting a all-day event on the 18th of September in the Principality Stadium in Cardiff. So you're more than welcome to sign up for that event. Dan Jones from the IPO is going to be presenting at that event, and he will be telling the story in a lot more detail of how they've gone from painful Excel to brilliant Power BI. I should coin that. So feel free to sign up to that event on the 18th September, and we could tell you more about that story and those insights, etc. I think Joe's just put a link in the chat there, so if you wanted to follow that and sign up, there's some nice food and a nice tour of Principality as well. Cool. So next step, I wanted to talk to you obviously today about Copilot and AI and how we can better utilize that across our organizations. I think the key point is that I wanted to talk to you about the journey those customers went on, because they had to go on that journey before they can leverage the power of AI. And that's our philosophy here at iCoTech Services, is that AI is brilliant, Copilot's brilliant, but you have to have your house in order first. So hopefully today I'll just talk to you about how you go about doing some of those things. All right. The first thing to talk about and the first thing to articulate is that there's a difference between Microsoft 365 Copilot and agents. They're two different things, really. In our opinion, Microsoft 365 Copilot is good-ish. It's okay. You can leverage it in Excel, in Word, in Power Platform, which I'll show you today in my demonstration. And it is okay, but a lot of customers come to us and say, this Copilot thing, it's kind of good at taking a transcribe, and it's kind of good at taking some actions. It's kind of good at pre-populating stuff in Word, cool, but I can't connect it. I can't do much more with it. And that's where agents come in. All right, so Copilot agents are the tools we use to connect those business processes together through really clever logic and clever design. All right, so there's a difference. So when myself and Richard and iCoTech talk about Copilot, we're more often than not talking about agents and building agents to solve business process problems and solve challenges in your organizations. We're not really talking about Microsoft 365 Copilot and the stuff that you could do in Word, Excel, Outlook, those kind of things, because to our customers, the agents are the most important things. All right, they're much more valuable. So how do we interact with agents? And just to kind of high level paint the picture of the architecture, you've got Copilot, obviously brilliant technology. You've got Copilot Studio, and Copilot Studio is a Power Platform capability, and it allows us to build these agents that can do various things. And again, today we'll hint to some of those things that you can do. And on the 18th, we're actually going to give you a live demonstration of how that agent works on the 18th of September in the Principality as well. So the agents are like apps. That's kind of how I would relate to them, apps that do certain things. And you have access to those apps now, but where you configure them, customize them, and train them, they become much more powerful, exponentially more powerful. All right. And it blows my mind a little bit, but to blow my mind and yours probably even more, you can actually have agents talking to other agents. So you can have multi-agent communities. Your head starts to fry at that point. But in principle, these agents can automate and execute on business processes. So they can work alongside you. They can work on behalf of somebody in the background. You can have them running autonomously, forevermore. They are real varied components that we can use at times. So whether we're asking it to go and do something, we're asking it to retrieve some information, it is one thing, arguably quite simple. If we're asking it to do something, that's the next level up where you're saying, can you go and do this thing based on my command, please? And Richard's got a little kind of thing to show you later on how that might work. And then autonomous, so how it could just be doing stuff on the background based on lots of triggers and lots of factors. Yeah. And so there's a bit of a sliding scale between super basic agent all the way up to pro agent, something really, really, really powerful. All right. And these agents, the key thing to note is they're not totally low code. Some of the technology we operate or we deliver here at iCoTech Services, Power Platform, low code, great. But some of these agents do require pro code and understanding of the AI architectural landscape in order to deliver. So that's what we've done internally, is understand how these technical components work. And now we're delivering use cases to our customers in the context of PPM to utilize those agents, etc. All right, key point. So what I thought I'd do, this diagram is basically a use case sample, and sometimes in the realm of project portfolio management, you can obviously be quite, I guess, hard to understand how these things can help you. So I thought this slide was quite good because it just shows you in some different context what agents can do. So, if it's a device refresh, you can request a new laptop and send approvals via the IT service tool. So, if somebody in your business says, I want a new laptop, it can do that for you. All right. Expense report to review outstanding open purchase orders and begin kind of financial planning. So you can say, can you tell me all the open purchase orders or the open expenses in my organization, please? Those are the type of things on the spectrum of kind of what an agent can do, all the way through to, have a multi-agent process that could handle quite dynamic and open customer support cases. So, you can imagine if you've got a support issue, you're doing lots of triage. The path of the resolution is multifaceted. So, they're much more complex agents in that space. And of course, you've got a project tracker as well in that context. So I'm trying to kind of give you an overview of the agents and what they could do and the art of possible for you. But if I go into this final slide on this kind of agenda item, I wanted just to kind of give you a bit of a checklist to go through based on how we're building Copilot agents. And the simplest way I can break this down into a set of areas to think of is data. So your Copilot agent needs data to operate. It's just a fact. It needs to understand where that data is coming from. So you can ask it questions that we'll kind of talk about later on. It then needs effectively knowledge. So if this is methodologies or an intranet site, DHW have a big intranet site with all their policies and their procedures and their guidance notes in pages. It could be as simple as having it in a Word document, but the agent needs to look at something to go, that's good. That's what good knowledge looks like for when I answer the questions of the user. All right. And then your processes. So you need to understand, the processes that you're following, the processes of using those agents, and the processes of potentially delivering your projects in your use case. All right. So ask yourself the question, is your data in a consistent and logical structure? All right, i.e. a system. If you're on the call now and your RAID logs are in Excel, and there are lots of different Excel files, if you've got a portfolio dashboard or a list of your projects in an Excel spreadsheet that might have different versions in it and might be adding new columns and removing new columns, etc., that's probably going to hinder the agent from doing anything of value to you. Do you have your definition of a project lifecycle? I'm not talking about thousands of pages. I'm talking about a couple of pages, something for that agent to reference. Because if you're going to ask it some of the questions we'll talk about later on, when I do the demo of kind of iCoPlan and Copilot and how that works together, you'll see that it needs to be structured in that way. So, yeah, hopefully I've given you some overview insights on what Copilot can and how it works. But the key takeaways really are there is a difference between Microsoft 365 Copilot and Copilot agents. And what we talk about is building Copilot agents to solve specific business problems in your context of PPM. I would think of Copilot agents like apps, and they are a powerful way to transform your business processes. All right, and you can use Copilot in many different ways, as you know, in Word or in Excel. But if you start using them in agents and you start interconnecting agents, it gets significantly more powerful for you to kind of look to consume those agents and digitize the way you work. All right. Agents can be simple, so our advice is always start simple. And if you were to work with iCoTech services, we take you through one user story at a time, in literally talking about one user story from our template and go, okay, which one do you want to look at, and keep it simple and grow with it over time. And if you want to start your journey in Copilot and agents, we recommend you really think about your data, your processes, and your knowledge first. We have had customers approach us saying, we want to build an agent, but they have 55 different Excel spreadsheets with different columns in there, and the foundations aren't in order to allow a Copilot agent to really be as useful as it can be. So we're working with a lot of customers at the moment to get them into a structured way of working in the Power Platform using iCoPlan or a custom app if they need it, and then moving on to Copilot after that. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully some key takeaways, some food for thought, and I'll hand over to Richard, and then I'll come back later on. Richard, over to you, mate.
Thank you, Joel.
No problem.
Just take control. Bear with me.
You have control, sir.
Great. Okay. So good afternoon, all. It's nice to see we haven't had any drop-offs so far, so I'll do my best to keep you all entertained for the next 10 minutes. So a little bit about myself. I'm Richard Llewellyn. I work as the practice manager at iCoTech. I've been here around 14 months now. My background originally started more in process improvements, moved into data analysis, and then moved into more system implementation type work. I've implemented systems like finance and operations and dynamic CRM, supported with a number of Power Apps to fill the gaps in the kind of ERP world. One of my specialities is more kind of resource planning, enterprise resource planning, and I'm basically here to talk you through a couple of examples of where Copilot agents can add quite a lot of value. The user stories that I've popped into today's presentation are some user stories that some of our clients have been talking to us more recently about. So, Copilot, I think we can all agree, does hold tremendous promise. It's the buzzword at the moment. It's what all of the organizations are talking about. But the real challenge is knowing where to begin, because there's so much to explore with Copilot. There's quite a lot of tools. There's different agents. There's different types of generative tools out there. And Joel's talked us through some of the different Microsoft agents that are available. So what I want to do is just walk you through some of these user stories so you can see what the agents are doing behind the scenes. This should then help you kind of better define and refine the scope of what your requirements might be when you're considering Copilot 365 versus some type of an agent. So as with anything within the agent, we have a query, which is basically the question that a user is entering into that agent. And if we're just looking at something simple, like I would like to book a meeting with team members assigned to the Copilot deployment project for next week, the agent needs to understand what is the topic, what's the intent, what is the user trying to get me to do. It's also looking at the knowledge, is to say, where can I go for this information? What is my knowledge base? What action is that user looking for me to perform off the back of this query? So just looking at the query, understanding the topic, understanding the knowledge, and understanding the action that needs to come out of it, puts you in a good place to understand what that architecture looks like. So then you can start looking at what tools within the Azure platform do I need to support this user story? What kind of security model do I need to implement to ensure that users are only accessing the right data? It's also looking at the volumes to understand, well, how often is this type of question going to be asked? It's looking at some of the fallbacks as well. And the term fallback is basically a second process that the agent would follow in the event it can't give you what it needs from the first question that's being asked. That fallback could be a prompt response to say, sorry, user, I can't find the project you're talking about. Is it this one? Or the fallback could be to look at a sub-process. So just by looking at starting with the queries to understand what kind of questions a user is going to put in the system is going to help you understand what your AI strategy is going to look like, as well as what that implementation plan might look like. So when we're looking at the first example of booking a meeting with the team members for next week, the intent is to book a meeting, and the knowledge source in our demonstration today is based on all of the projects that are stored in Dataverse, which is basically the back end of Power Platform. It needs to be able to find the relevant projects. It needs to return the teams that's assigned against the project, and it needs to look for the users that's part of that team. But it's also saying that it needs to book a meeting for next week. That's not specific enough. It doesn't know what to do. So depending on that process, we could get the agent to prompt them to say which day next week, or we could get the agent to go off, look at the calendars, look at Outlook, and suggest the closest 3 time slots that's available for all members in that group. So that may save 10 minutes, 5 minutes every time a meeting's being booked. Then once it finds all of these users, it's actually sending that meeting request through Outlook as well. When we're looking at the second user story, where we're looking at what are the lessons are relevant to the Copilot project, the intent, the topic is relevant lessons. We know that we need to look at the projects table, which is stored in Dataverse to pick up the project. And then we need to return any lessons that's associated with that project. But the question is how does the agent know that Copilot deployment project A is relevant to project B, etc.? So we've spoken to customers about introducing certain tags, so then you can basically align some of the projects within your portfolio. And some of the outputs from this is to create a lessons learned document in Word. That's one action. Another action could be you don't want the output to be a Word document. You want those lessons actually added to the lessons log for the project that you're in. So there's lots of different actions agents can manage. When we're looking at can you summarize all of the actions assigned to me in the past month? Yet again, the intent is to summarize the actions. There's an actions log specifically within Power Platform, and that contains all of our central actions. And I just want to summarize some of those actions because I don't want to go through, say, 50. So that the action there is to find the project, look at the actions, and then see any actions that's been added within the past month, and then summarize them for me in my agent. It could be that you get the agent to take those actions out and add them to your project plan. Or it could be you take those actions out and put them in your Outlook calendar. It could be those actions are taken out and added to some type of an end of week project status report. So there's quite a lot of different things you can do with some of these user stories. With the last one as well, what do we need to do in order to progress the Copilot project to the next stage gate? This is basically saying, as a user, I don't know what is required to progress this project to the next stage. So what I would like to do is I know we have a delivery methodology, a policy, a document internal that talks about all of these stage gates that I need to do. I don't know where the document is. I don't know which version we're on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the agent just to summarize what I should do next for this particular project based on some of these policies that are stored in SharePoint. So yet again, the topic, the intent is to proceed through the stage gate. It's going to use the project delivery methodology as its data source, which is stored in SharePoint, and it's going to summarize the stage gate process of that document. Now, the delivery methodology might be 200-300 pages long, so the agent's just going to summarize the bits that I need and return the information that's relevant to me. So when we look at these user stories and we put them into 365 Copilot, how does Copilot manage these queries? What are the actions it's doing out of the box versus customization? Sorry, I've got you on a really small screen, so I was just seeing which example has come up there. So just bear with me for a second.
Okay. And just conscious of time as well. We got 10 minutes. So when Rich has done this, I think we've got a bit of time for Q&A as well. But if he's got some questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. So when we're looking at what are the lessons are relevant to the Copilot deployment project, 365 Copilot is looking through 82 files. It's found 5 meetings, but all of our lessons are actually stored in Power Apps. It's not actually stored in my OneDrive. So the query did summarize the findings of the 82 files, but the output actually talks about our lessons learned strategy. It's not the actual lessons that's being captured against a specific project. So that's why that's where an agent comes into play, because this is our specific business process that we want a specific action performed with a specific output. When we look at the next example, is summarize all of the actions assigned to me. So it's basically gone away, it's looked at 48 files. Apparently, I've had over 100 meetings in the last month, which I know I've felt busy, but this is telling me I have been. So what the agent has actually done is gone through those 100 meetings, picked up the transcribed notes, and identified any actions that was basically assigned to me. So that's a lot of actions off a lot of meetings. So summarizing those actions might not be what I need. I might want them to add those actions to a centralized task list or an action log so I can start making my way through some of these actions or prioritizing some of these actions. Either way, I need to manage my actions in a bit more of an effective way. When we look at a status report as well, I'd like Copilot to give me a status report for this particular project. Yet again, it's gone away, it's looked at all of these files, all of these meetings, all of the transcribed meeting notes, and it's given me a summary. I must admit, I do love Copilot, it's great, but you do need to check the data in here. Because on this executive summary, it's pulled up a statement that says it's basically dependent upon Microsoft's enterprise agreement renegotiations. I must admit, I don't know where it's got that from, but that's not true. So you do need to validate the outputs that Copilot has given you, because it does need training, it does need educating, and it does need some minor configuration in order for it to give you the response that you really want. And then when we're looking at the StageGate user story, this has basically gone through to the SharePoint, it has found the document, it has summarized it, but within that document library, there's also 5 other files talking about StageGate progression. So what it's basically done is it's had a bit of a hallucination, and it's merged our internal delivery process with some of our external documents. So this is just to validate the point that Joel was making earlier, was that you need good data, good knowledge bases in place. Because when we're working with some of our customers who are looking to reference SharePoint, Copilot doesn't know what the latest version is. It doesn't know, is this draft? Is this final? So those are some of the things that you need to consider when you're looking at knowledge bases. So that's why a lot of our customers point the Copilot agents towards a specific folder within SharePoint where they know all of those documents are approved documents, they've been agreed, and that's basically their group policy. So I think there's a bit of a summary there. Copilot's agents do need good, clean data. They need mature business processes, and they need to have a good knowledge base. But if you have these 3 things in place in your organization, then these agents can be really, really, really powerful. So I think that was my 10 minutes. Thank you for listening. Back to you, Joel.
Thank you, Richard. So appreciate that. I'm just going to, yeah, I am cool. Okay, great stuff. So can I take back control? I can take control. I think you have to give it to me, Richard. To allow me to take back control. Thank you, mate. So, yeah, and everybody, just another point. On the 18th of September, Richard's going to go through some more detail. We only had an hour today, so we're trying to have to pick the key points to tell you about. So there's a whole day session on the 18th where we're going to talk you through a live demo of an agent. You can imagine is a little bit varied, which I'll show you in a second as well, in terms of the questions you answer it and how it behaves. But yeah, we're going to bring to life a bit more on the 18th of September in Cardiff in the Principality Stadium. So if you want to see more, want to ask more questions, get to know a bit more how this kind of technology can help you in your organizations, then please do sign up to that event. There are only 50 spaces, so you need to kind of sign up sooner rather than later so we can make sure that you guys are there. So what I'm going to do now is talk to you about iCoplan and Copilot. But to be 100% clear, this is not a Copilot agent. What I wanted to do in this session was to show you, quite what you could achieve quite quickly. So if you didn't have all those things in place that we talked about earlier on in terms of data, the knowledge, and the processes, within 6 weeks you could have iCoplan, and then you could start leveraging Copilot inside iCoplan. And I thought that was probably the best thing to demonstrate to you, as opposed to the art of the possible for when fully mature and fully functional, because I just thought that was probably a bit too far out. If you're an organization that you've got Excel, you've got SharePoint lists, you've got these things, and you want to start leveraging digitization, automation, and AI ASAP, well, the best way of doing that is to consider looking at a tool like iCoplan, and then we can use Copilot embedded in iCoplan to maximum effect, and I'll show you that today. So really, really quickly, we have iCoplan, iCoRisk, and iCoView, and today we're talking 100% about iCoplan. All right, so iCoplan is our project portfolio management accelerator, and it's really our front and center product, which most customers will start with. And it kind of does a little bit of everything, and I'm going to show you whistle-stop tour today on what it looks like and how it works, and then I'm going to show you how Copilot is embedded within iCoplan. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that it behaves, because iCoplan is great. Copilot is a little bit like my 6-year-old daughter. Sometimes it works, sometimes it goes off piece. So I'm taking a risk by showing you all a live demonstration today. So please cross your fingers with me, and let's hope this goes to plan. All right. As I say, I'm not going to give you an in-depth demonstration of iCoplan today, because there's plenty of content on our YouTube channel. There's plenty of opportunity, obviously, if you want to see more on the 18th. I will be going through it in a lot more detail. But effectively, what this is a Microsoft Power App. This is actually a Canvas app inside a model-driven app. And effectively, if you're running projects, running programs, or you're kind of head of projects and PMO, this tool is 100% suited to you. So a lot of our customers will come to us, as I say, on Excel, on spreadsheets, on SharePoint lists, and we're implementing this as part of the initial wave to track and manage their portfolio of projects. So this is a project request process. We'll start from the top, but as I say, I will go really quickly through this because I want to talk to you more about Copilot. But this is receiving new requests from the project or the business stakeholder, business community, and much like a project mandate, filling out what the description is, what the business case is, etc., the forecast costs, and effectively submitting a request into the PMO or portfolio team. All right, so that request has come from outside of my team, as I'm a PMO manager, and it's come into my organization, and I'm then able to go and receive this request. I'm then able to go and understand what this request is doing, what information has been submitted against this project request, maybe what the prioritization score is. So this is the score that person has submitted, and I might say at this point, I'm gonna disagree with the strategic alignment. I actually don't think it's going to lower costs. I think it's going to it's going to have no rating to that. Improve employee retention. I don't think it is, and I think it's actually you've got massive risk. It's not low risk, because actually this desk booking app is critical to our business. I'm making it up, but effectively it's going to reprioritize the score of the project, and then give us a more accurate score for that project prioritization. All right, it's quite simple, quite basic for now. On the left-hand side, we've got the portfolios, programs, and projects. Most of you, I think, will have a definition of what this is, but as a 30-second whistle-stop tour, these are your portfolios, and then we can go into a portfolio and we can see things like the programs that related to this portfolio, maybe the risks and issues that have been escalated from the project to the program to the portfolio, and so on and so forth. Couple of key points is that everything you see here is totally configurable. So as every one of our customers take on iCoplan, it looks totally different to them. But I'm hoping you can see what this system is trying to do in terms of capturing all the assets, all of the data across your project portfolio, to allow us then to use Copilot embedded in this, or even a Copilot agent in the future. All right, so I'm going to skip down to the bottom level here, which is the projects. And effectively, if you're using the Excel spreadsheet at the moment, if you're using lists, then hopefully this has some resonance. You look at it and go, okay, I can see how this would work for me. But this is the project list of projects. And then obviously you've got things like stage gates. You've got things like gate checklists. You've got tasks using Planner. So now every plan for every project is in the same system, which means we can get out all the tasks, we can get out all the resource reports, all those type of things all in one place. The finances, the status reports, every asset that we track across a project portfolio is now in a single system, a single central version of the truth. All right. And then the brilliant thing is, I explained at the start of our call, all of our customers now, pretty sure all of them, are using Power BI there to visualize that data, get massive efficiencies in building those Power BI reports, those status reports, the program reports, the portfolio dashboards, whatever it is. This is the content pack our customers get, but everyone will look different when we actually go to deploy it, obviously. But this is filtering by all the Amber projects across the portfolio. All right. And then the brilliant thing about this is that it gives us that foundation to work from, so that all the risks, all the tasks, all the issues, everything is in one central location, one central system. That means then we can be in a good place to start applying Copilot to this. All right. So if I go to the project requests, I know that was a whistle-stop tour. Again, there's a proper hour-long kind of demonstration of iCoPlan in the event on the 18th of September. Funny that, I refreshed it earlier, and she's already telling me, Copilot's already telling me that I don't know what the previous question was, but I'm always learning. All right, so just to be clear, this is Copilot in Power Apps. This is not an agent. So it's not as powerful as some of the agents that are out there and some of the agents we're building. And I'm hopefully going to show you that today. And it will return me a question or an answer saying, sorry, I don't know. But let's jump in. All right. I will preference this as well with, I asked it this specific question 3 hours ago this morning, early hours this morning, and it came back saying, I don't know the answer. So I guess what I'm doing here is I'm a PMO manager. I get all these requests. Lloyd, the sponsor, is off on long-term sick, or he's had a baby, he's on paternity leave or whatever. So I just want to know quickly, can you show me all project requests that, so with Lloyd as the sponsor. Right. Fingers crossed this works. So effectively, it's going to look at this data set. It's going to look at my natural language question. It's going to go away and it's going to go and try and return me back the project requests that are assigned to Lloyd. So thank you, Copilot, for working on this occasion. Because as I said earlier on this morning, 6 o'clock this morning, I woke up and it said, I asked it that exact question. It said, sorry, I don't know your answer. I don't know how to respond to you. And I'm sitting like, oh, God. So it's not perfect, is my point. It is a little bit temperamental, but it is showing me the project requests that's coming through the system that Lloyd is a sponsor of. All right. I'm going to go whistle down to tasks in a different user case. Just following my notes to make sure I follow this properly. But this is a view of all the tasks across the portfolio. All right. So I'm going to say I've created a previous view which has got a bit more information on it. It's got the task, the due date, the effort, the created on, etc. All right, so that's my view that I've created in my app myself. And then I'm going to ask this another question. All right, so I'm going to say, I want to know, for example, the Power BI report is broken that would show me this normally, but I want to see, can you show me all project tasks? Can you show me all project tasks assigned to me? To me. All right, so I'm going to get it to list now all those project tasks that are assigned to me that I need to work on. And there we go. So it's kind of pulled up on the side here. I've got 28 active project tasks assigned to me. It's added some further context to that, like some of them are in implementation, prepared to go live, all owned by Joel Markham and currently active. All right, so it's trying to give me a bit of a summarization of those tasks. So, very quickly, you could start to use Copilot embedded in Power Platform to leverage the power of iCoPlan. Yeah. Now, some of these things I would say they could and should potentially be reports. But again, if you're trying to build specific queries that are one-off, tasks that are assigned to me for a project that's sponsored by person X, then you can start to use Copilot to ask it those questions, give it those prompts. But as Richard alluded to earlier, you have to be careful because it's not always 100% correct. It often or not, it's got some of the context wrong. All right. So one of the next things I thought about as demonstrating to you today, and some of the things that we're kind of training our existing customers that are using Copilot on, is some more detail, some more information on the risks, the risk portfolio. So this is all my risks in my demo system. All right. I'm just going to filter that by all the active risks for a second. And I just want to see all the active risks across my portfolio. And I'm thinking about, we've got a particular topic on suppliers, for example, and I want to see all risks that are related to suppliers across my portfolio. All right. So can you show me all risks that are to do with suppliers? All right. Sometimes I put please. I treat it nicely, but I'll remove the please this time. So it's going to look at this data set and it's going to try and find any risk that has got any reference to suppliers. And remarkably, Copilot is working well this morning. So thank you, Copilot. But here you can see this risk 1024, which is here, is a risk raised by a project to do with supplier selection. All right. And it's pulled that up for me. And it's just a great way of just being able to summarize all of these records in a single view and have them all available to you. So, and that's a very, very basic and, a starter use case for how you could start to utilize or leverage Copilot within Power Platform to kind of run some of your project portfolios. All right. One of the tests that I was trying to do to demonstrate this is that this has got a highways department reference to it. So this is a risk about the implementation of CRM to the highways department. All right. And I tried to stretch it a bit to show you that this is not meant to work. All right. But knowing my luck, it'll work. So, can you show me all risks that are to do with the highways department? And when I was trying to demonstrate this use case, my point is that sometimes the questions are stretched too far, and it's saying here, as it's done, it's failed, but that's what I expected, is that it hasn't understood that text, the narrative in that cell is a department. So it hasn't, as Richard alluded to earlier, it hasn't connected my question to knowledge, and that's where it's stuck. So effectively, it's saying there are no risks related to the highways department in this data set, but we know that not to be true because we've seen it in there in the context. All right. So I've just shown you 3 hopefully positive use cases and how you could use Copilot very quickly in a very simple term. I'll just be really clear. This is quite basic for Copilot and its opportunity to you, and one where it was a bit of a stretch too far and it didn't really come to light in that sense or answer the question. All right. I'm conscious of time.
Yeah, Joe, I just want to be a fun sponge, but we're running out of time. So just wondered at this point, has anybody got any specific questions you want the guys to answer? Anything that's burning? Please feel free.
Happy to. If you want to raise your hand, and we'll come to you and ask any questions that you've got. I'm just going to resume the presentation whilst I do that. So, okay, just conscious of time as well, and I'm just going to move on to this final slide. So, appreciate there's a lot of people on the call today as well, so people might not want to ask questions of us, but just to let you know, we do have an event on the 18th September. Sorry, someone's just joined and is not on mute. I'm just gonna, thank you very much. So you could take a little screenshot of this as well if you want to, and you could register for the event on the 18th. If you did want to find out more about iCoPlan, feel free to reach out to us and we can demonstrate iCoPlan in a bit more detail. Apologies, that was a bit rushed. And then if you want to hear more about Copilot and see some more Copilot stories and Copilot agents in action as well, that's your other option there. But did anybody raise their hand?
Sorry, I was going to say, I think we're going to be sending a a feedback form. Obviously, we want to do more of these. We really would appreciate any feedback.
Cool.
How
We've got
we
a question
can
from
improve.
Catherine
So
as well. So
yeah, just saw
sorry,
that
Cathedral.
question come through.
I assume that's a room. So who transfers organization, Excels, and other docs into iCoPlan? So there's a process you go through as part of our onboarding wave that will allow you to ingest that data through Excel imports, etc. That's normally what most customers do, but that's kind of our consultant will help you import that data. But thank you for your question.
There's a question about Monday.com there, I think, it's just popped up, Joe.
Yeah. So do you have any experience of migrating Monday.com data into iCoPlan? We have experience of taking customers from Monday.com into iCoPlan, but the data migration is we haven't done it automated, Lewis, in that sense. But there's lots of ways we could do that. If you did have thousands of projects in Monday.com, bless you. If you did, there is a migration process we can take you through to export, transform, and upload that data, which Richard knows and loves all too well. So yeah, there is a way of doing it, but in total honesty, we haven't done it before because most of the customers we've taken off Monday.com have, for example, closed down the project in Monday and migrated and transferred that data over to iCoPlan manually in that sense. Do you provide sample knowledge bases that customers can customize? That's a great idea. We don't because lots of our customers will operate differently, Marie. So our process and methodology is totally different to yours. But we have helped customers with building and defining their knowledge bases. And you'd be surprised. You probably have a lot of them. It's just about consolidating them and defining that document is the knowledge base, and then uploading it to SharePoint, and then posting or pointing the agent to that knowledge base. But yeah, we've got PPM consultants, myself, Richard, and Toby, that we can support you with building those knowledge bases, etc. But I think a template or a sample is a good idea, Richard. We'll put that on the backlog for the future. Cool. Any other questions at all? Happy to answer anything that anybody has at the moment. As I say, those are the 18th of September is an all-day session, so you get to kind of network with some stakeholders in your communities as well. There's a couple of breakout sessions, and there's a lot more detail on Copilots and a live demonstration of a Copilot agent. But yeah, thank you for your time. Andy, shall I pass back to you?
Yeah, we really appreciate everybody turning up. I'm sure we'll be following up with you. If there's any subsequent questions you think about after the event, please feel free to submit them. Really appreciate your time, and if we can see you at the 18th, it'll be fantastic. But once again, we'll be doing more of these. If you get a feedback form, please fill it in for us, and we'd like to refine it and get better on these as we go. So thanks again, guys, and have a great day. We'll be in touch.
Paul's just asked a question. Will we share the slides? And yes, the slides will be shared. Joe has answered that. And no worries, everybody. But thank you very much for your time. Thanks, Justine. So if you've got any questions, let us know. And we'll catch you hopefully on the 18th or in the next couple of weeks. Cheers, guys.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay.
Thanks, Richard. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.